Hey guys. So I don't know if all of you are aware of this or not, but we have Second Passover coming up next week. And you can find that in scripture in Numbers 9. It tells a story about how the Israelites were celebrating Passover on the 14th day of the first month, but then some people were polluted. And so they were to celebrate Passover on the 14th day of the second month if they were polluted. And so that's second Passover. What it says in your King James Version is that those people were polluted. It says that in verse 7, it says in Numbers 9, verse 7, it says, "And those men said unto him, We are defiled by the dead body of a man." But if you look at the actual words themselves, so if you go here to Bible Suite, this is a really cool website, and this is Numbers 9, verse 10, and you can see that it gives you the translation on this side over here, and then it shows you how the phrases and the words correspond to the actual words of the original text itself. So you can see that down here where it says, because of a dead person, or by reason of a dead body, it says that in the King James Version as well. That phrase is the scribes from 2,000 years ago, they put that phrase in there, but it stems from one word. And the phrase itself is not in that definition of that word. Let me show you what I mean. The word is 5315. It's nefesh, and it means soul, life, creature, person, inner being of man. It's used 475 times in the Bible to mean soul, 117 times to mean life, 29 times to mean person, 15 times to mean mind, 15 times for heart, creature, body, or dead. But to say that this word means by reason of a dead person, that's just not correct. And I'm sorry to say that, but remember Jeremiah 8:8, the pen of the scribes is in falsehood. Not everything that they translated was correct, unfortunately. And so I say, I mean, it's understandable, but I'd say unfortunately because there's millions, if not billions, of people out there that believe that they were perfect, and they weren't perfect people. So there are errors in the way that they translate it, and this is one example of that. This word simply does not mean by reason of. It does mean dead, and it does mean body, as well as it also means soul, and it also means just simply person. In fact, it means soul and person more times than it means dead or body, but it does not mean by reason of. It doesn't mean that. So you can see what each of these words mean. So right here, speak to the sons of Israel, saying, if any one of you or of your generations, and you can see the meanings over here as well, becomes unclean or polluted. This word right here, tame, it also means polluted. Soul. Not because, it doesn't mean that. We just looked at the definition. It doesn't mean because of. It just means either dead or body or soul or person. So the right way to read this is, if any one of you or your generations becomes unclean, becomes an unclean soul or an unclean person or a polluted person. That is the correct way of reading this. It just simply does not mean by reason of. So it's just, I hate to say that, but it really is wrong. It really is. So here it is right here, Numbers 9, verse 10 and 11. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, if any person of you or your generations becomes a polluted person, or becomes a polluted body, because this word also means body, or a polluted heart, or a polluted mind or soul, or is on a distant journey, he may, however, observe the Passover unto the Lord, the 14th day of the second month at evening. They shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. So, I mean, that's crazy, right? When I went and I realized what that word actually meant, and that it does not say anywhere in there that the person is polluted by reason of a dead body. It just doesn't say that. It says, it just simply says, if they become polluted, if they become a polluted person, then they should celebrate Passover in the second month, not the first month. Well, here's the thing. Isaiah 64:6 tells us that we are all polluted. And if you think about it, maybe 2,000 years ago, they weren't polluted at all. But in this day and age, I mean, I can't imagine that there's anyone on the planet that has not been subject to pollution of some kind, whether it be, maybe if you're living in the rainforest in Brazil, you haven't been polluted by television or, anything like that. But I have to say, I really don't believe that there's anyone on the planet that hasn't at least been polluted by some form of physical pollution to their body. You know what I mean? So I really believe what Isaiah 64:6 is saying, that at this day and age, everyone on the planet has some form of pollution in their mind, body, soul. So this is telling us in Numbers 9 that anyone who is polluted should celebrate Passover in the second month on the 14th day. So I'm saying, wait a minute. In this day and age, that means everybody, right? So maybe that's why nothing happened last month on Passover, because it wasn't even really Passover. Okay, so here's the other thing. We know Passover's on the 14th day of the month. Generally, Passover is on the 14th day of the first month. So if you go look at Exodus 12 says in verse 18 that unleavened bread should be eaten from the evening of the 14th day until the evening of the 21st day. So in Numbers 9, 10, and 11, when it says they should keep the second Passover, those who are polluted need to keep the Passover in the second month on the 14th day, and also eat the unleavened bread. So you eat the unleavened bread until the 21st day. So basically, Passover is from the 14th day at evening until the 21st day at evening. It ends on the 21st day at evening. And so the standard Jewish calendar, if you go look at it, it doesn't have second Passover on the standard Jewish calendar. They celebrated their general Passover last month in March. So this moon right here in April is the second month. It starts the second month. So 14 days from this new moon would be April 23rd. And 14 days from the first crescent would be April 24th. So there's a 3-day window. So the window for second Passover, or maybe the real Passover that everyone should be celebrating nowadays, would be from the evening of the 23rd until the evening of the 25th. And that would be Passover, the 14th day, the window for the 14th day, depending on whether you count from the new moon or the first crescent. And the evening of the 21st day would be either the 30th or the 1st. So you would end your seventh day of unleavened bread, according to Exodus 12, would be the evening of the 29th until the evening of the 30th, if you're counting from the new moon, or the evening of the 30th until the evening of the 1st, if you're counting from the first crescent. So the window, basically, for Passover that would apply to everyone living on the earth nowadays would be April 23rd through May 1st. So that was kind of crazy for me to realize that. And, just looking at the meanings of these words and realizing, oh, no, wait a minute. All of us should be celebrating Second Passover as the Passover. So here's the other thing. Here's this chart right here. If you don't know what this is, I have a link in the description box that explains everything. So you might want to check that out. But if the true trumpets, I remember last fall, a few people were saying, well, maybe true trumpets was the Revelation 12 fulfillment. Well, if it was, and that happened October 16th, I have a link on that as well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's in the description box. But if that was true trumpets, then that would mean that true Passover would be right here in perfect alignment with the standard second Passover. So we're coming up on a really important watch date. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that. Also, the other thing I wanted to point out is Hanukkah. So you remember all those fulfillments that we had back in February. We had all these major events on every single one of these alignment dates. And, March was a little slower, not quite as many. We did have a major fulfillment on two of the alignment dates. We had that Pope's election right here and what would have been Trumpets on the orange timeline. And we had Obama in Israel exactly on Nisan 10, which was when atonement would have been on this timeline. But that yellow timeline, we had a major event on every single one of these events in February. So we had the 8.0 quake here on atonement. We had the Pope's announcement of his resignation on the first day of Sukkot and the meteor strike in Russia on the seventh day of Sukkot. So that yellow timeline seems kind of amazing, and the next event on that yellow timeline is on April 19th. So this next Friday. And that would correspond to the first day of Hanukkah, and then the seventh day of Hanukkah would be here on the 26th. So we have that going on as well, that next alignment on the yellow timeline, which the yellow timeline was pretty much, the most amazing timeline so far. And that started the first day of the first month on that first fulfillment last fall of the Abomination of Desolation. So right here, we had three major fulfillments of Scripture, with this being the third. So we had August, September, October, three major fulfillments. And there is a 7-month period counting from each one of these fulfillments. And the last one is right here. We're in the middle of it right now. Trumpets would have been right here. So this period from the 10th through the 12th, or the new moon of the 10th and the first crescent. The first crescent right here on the 11th was actually exactly 7 months from that Revelation 12 sign that we saw. So the Revelation 12 sign happened on the first crescent of the moon, October 16th, 2012. That was the first crescent. So exactly 7 moons from that, the new moon, exactly 7 of them later lands precisely on April 11th. And we did have a minor event on that day. I don't know if it means anything. We did have a solar flare, and it was the first major solar flare of the year. This is Fox News. And it tells us right here the most powerful solar flare of the year erupted from the sun Thursday, April 11th, sparking a temporary radio blackout. And they go on to talk about how I guess the solar maximum, this is a whole different subject, but the solar maximum is expected to happen in late 2013. Wow. I mean, that's a whole nother subject. I don't want to go there. But, so that was maybe not a huge event, maybe not as major as the Pope's resignation, but that was, the largest solar flare of the year yet happening. And it happened exactly, I mean, to the day, 7 months from that Revelation 12 sign. So, yeah, that was kind of significant, I think. And then, so this next, that would have been trumpets, basically. And then the next period would be atonement right in here, which on the green timeline, and also corresponding to Hanukkah right here on the yellow timeline. So the green timeline is right here. It starts the first day of the first month on that Revelation 12 sign. Okay, so that's what that is. And then the Hanukkah is up here. So I guess we're going into a watch period that's pretty major, I think, right now, especially with the start of Second Passover and what would be Passover accounting from the Revelation 12 sign. So, again, I don't know what it means. Does it have something to do with a solar flare or an EMP or something? I mean, I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of. I mean, that was what happened right here. A temporary blackout, radio blackout. I mean, I don't know. Was that a sign of what's coming up? I don't really know. But this was the other thing right here. I don't know if you remember, but the actual day that the Pope was elected corresponded on the red timeline to the day that the rain started in Noah's flood. And so that 40 days would end right here, right before Second Passover. And then Sukkot on the green timeline. So I'll just show you that real quick. So that green timeline right here started on the fulfillment of Revelation 12 as well. And the seventh day of Sukkot would land, if we count 7 months from that fulfillment, 7 months from that Revelation 12 fulfillment right here, then Sukkot, the seventh day of Sukkot would end on May 2nd. So that's the watch period. Sukkot would happen right here on the 24th and last all the way through the 2nd, the window for Sukkot. And the seventh day of Sukkot corresponds to the shaking of the heavens and the earth, Haggai 2. And the seventh day of unleavened bread corresponds to the people ascending at the trumpet when the walls of Jericho fell. So that's in Joshua 5. Here's Joshua 5 right here. And it says that they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. So the Israelites were in Jericho, in the plains of Jericho, and they were having Passover. And they started eating unleavened bread. They were having Passover. And then in Joshua 6, the 7 priests marched around the city on the 7th day and blew the trumpet. So that's the 7th day of unleavened bread right there. And then verse 5 says, and it came to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up, every man straight before him. So we're talking about ascending up on the 7th day of unleavened bread. And so if everyone on earth right now has some form of pollution in them, and people that have pollution in them are supposed to celebrate Passover in the second month, then we're talking about this could really be the true Passover right here, and the seventh day of unleavened bread right here from the 29th through May 1st, representing the ascension on that day. Nobody knows, of course. And you know what it says? It says, Matthew 24:44, I think it is. You know what that says? It will happen on a day you think not. So, I mean, I'm just pointing out, what's going on, the calendar, what it looks like. Of course, none of us really know what will happen on these days, but it's definitely worth watching, at least paying attention that we are going into an important watch period right now. And then we have Shavuot here in mid-May that's coming up as well. So right now we're in the midst of counting down the Omer. And if you go by the new moons and the first crescents, you end up with the 50th day, the 50th day, the Omer of the 50th day on May 13th through the 15th. But the standard Jewish calendar celebrates Shavuot on the 15th and the 16th of May. So that's also coming up. So a major watch period coming up right here. Just want to let you guys know, and I hope you're doing well. And I will talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.